If you watched the race this weekend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of those days where NASCAR reminds you just how wild this sport can get. The kind of race where everything seems under control and then suddenly the whole thing explodes into chaos. And today we've actually got two big stories coming out of that race. The first one is about a moment that completely changed the race late in the event. A crash that destroyed a car that looked like it might have had a real shot. A wreck that collected multiple drivers and left fans trying to figure out what actually happened out there. But the second story, honestly, it might be even bigger. Because after the race, the garage area absolutely lit up. Drivers were frustrated, tempers were high, and now there are people inside NASCAR openly questioning whether something that happened on track was just hard racing or something more than that. And when NASCAR drivers start calling each other out publicly, you know things just got serious. So within a breakdown exactly what happened during the race, how that crash unfolded, and why the reaction afterward might turn this into one of the most talked about moments of the season. But before we jump in, real quick, if you're a true NASCAR fan and you enjoy talking racing with people who actually watch every week, go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing. This channel's brand new, we're trying to build the NASCAR Nation Report community, so let's start with the moment that really blew this race open. Joey Logano came into the race at Phoenix Raceway with a lot of momentum. He started on the pole for the Straight Talk Wireless 500, which already told you Team Penske had brought a seriously fast Ford. When you start up front at Phoenix, you know you've got a real shot to control the race if everything goes right. But the problem is, everything did not go right. Late in Stage 3, with just 59 laps remaining in the race, things completely fell apart for Logano. It happened on lap 254, and it turned into one of those crashes that just spirals out of control in a split second. The whole sequence started when Logano moved up the track heading into turn 1. At the same time, AJ Allmendinger was right there, and when Logano came up the racing groove, he basically cut across Allmendinger's line. Allmendinger clipped the right rear of Logano's car, and once that happens at Phoenix, you already know what comes next. Logano's car snapped sideways, shot up the track, and suddenly the entire situation turned into a multi-car wreck. There was nowhere for anyone behind them to go. Chase Elliott was caught up in the chaos, AJ Allmendinger obviously took damage from the initial contact, and then Josh Berry came into the scene with absolutely no way to avoid the wreck. Berry summed it up perfectly afterward. He said it was basically the wrong place at the wrong time. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. When a car spins like that in the middle of traffic, sometimes there's just nothing the drivers behind can do. Logano later explained what happened from his perspective. He said he simply ran out of space going into turn 1, but the damage was already done. His car was completely destroyed. The pole sitter, who looked like he had a legitimate chance to fight for the win, was suddenly out of contention in a matter of seconds. And if that wasn't enough drama already, this wasn't even the first moment Logano had been involved in earlier in the race. Earlier in the Straight Talk Wireless 500, another incident tied to Logano had already triggered a crash that knocked Ross Chastain and Austin Cindric out of contention. So by the time that late race wreck happened, there was already tension building in the race. And that brings us to the second story, because the real fireworks didn't just happen on the track, they happened after the race. In the hours following the event, multiple drivers started publicly criticizing Logano for what happened, and the reactions coming out of the garage were honestly pretty intense. Several drivers described the move that triggered the earlier crash as reckless and irresponsible. One driver who was involved in the wreck spoke after leaving the infield care center and didn't hold back at all. He said the move was completely unnecessary. He pointed out that on a restart, the entire field is stacked up together, and driving aggressively in that moment can put a lot of drivers at risk. But the strongest reaction came from Ross Chastain. And if you follow NASCAR closely, you know Chastain is not afraid to speak his mind. After the race, Chastain suggested the contact that triggered the wreck may not have been accidental at all. According to him, the move felt intentional. And he even connected it to something that happened the previous weekend at the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at Circuit of Americas. After that race at COTA, several members of Chastain's team were suspended by NASCAR, while officials determined the team had competed with an illegal setup. While those penalties hit the crew members, Chastain himself was still cleared to compete in the next race at Phoenix. Chastain suggested that situation may have created tension inside the garage. He told reporters he didn't know exactly what was going through Logano's mind, but the contact definitely raised questions. In his words, with everything that happened at COTA and the suspensions around his team, maybe some people in the garage didn't think it was fair that he was still allowed to race. Chastain even went as far as suggesting Logano might have been trying to take him out of the race. And when a driver starts saying things like that publicly, you know the situation has escalated. Other drivers caught in the accident backed up that frustration. One competitor described the move as imprudent, saying aggressive racing is part of NASCAR, but there's still a line. And when a single move ends up wiping out several cars at once, something clearly went wrong. That reaction immediately sparked debate, all across the NASCAR garage and all over social media. Fans started arguing about whether it was just hard racing, something we see all the time in the Cup Series, or if it crossed into the territory of avoidable recklessness. Chastain didn't stop there either. He actually called on NASCAR Cup Series officials to review the incident and determine whether disciplinary action should be taken. According to him, NASCAR needs to look at the move carefully, and if the wreck was caused by something that wasn't clean racing, then there should be consequences. As of right now, NASCAR officials haven't said whether they plan to review the crash or issue any kind of penalties, but the controversy has definitely added another chapter to Joey Logano's reputation. And let's be honest here, Logano's built an incredible career with 3 Cup Series championships driving for Team Penske. But part of that career has also been defined by aggressive driving and intense rivalries inside the garage. Some fans love that style. Others think it crosses the line sometimes. And right now, after what happened at Phoenix Raceway, that debate is louder than ever. Because when multiple drivers start calling someone out publicly, and when another driver is asking NASCAR to investigate what happened, that story doesn't just disappear when the race ends. It carries into the next race weekend. And now everyone in the garage is going to be watching very closely to see what happens next between these drivers. At the end of the day, moments like this are part of what makes NASCAR so intense. This sport is emotional. Drivers race hard every single week. Championships are on the line, and sometimes those emotions spill over. But the big question now is whether this situation cools down or whether it turns into a full-blown rivalry moving forward this season. And honestly, I feel like the next time some of these drivers line up next to each other on a restart, people are going to be watching very closely. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think what happened at Phoenix was just hard racing, or do you think Joey Logano crossed the line? Drop your opinion down in the comments because NASCAR fans always have strong takes on moments like this. And if you enjoy talking NASCAR with real fans who follow this sport every single week, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation Report is still a brand new channel, and we're trying to hit our first big goal of 10,000 subscribers with true racing fans. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.